Well, this week we got the news of the untimely death of actor James Gandolfini. He was an actor for decades, but will best be remembered as Tony Soprano from the HBO hit series The Sopranos.
Holstein's Confectionery is the location of the famous cut to black scene, which ended the television series The Sopranos, a scene as abrupt as the death of its star, James Gandolfini.
Last night at approximately 10 p.m., James Gandolfini, while on vacation in Rome, experienced a medical emergency. Mr. Gandolfini was taken to the hospital, where he died of an apparent heart attack.
Gandolfini played mob boss Tony Soprano in the groundbreaking HBO series that aired from 1999 to 2007.
James was very quiet. You know, he was talkative, but, you know, he was just a down-to-earth guy. We'd stand in the driveway out here on breaks, and he'd light up a big cigar, and he'd kid around with the crew from HBO. I seemed to have a good relationship with a lot of them.
We came for dessert to Holstein's in honor of James Gandolfini.
We've closed down the table. Somebody brought flowers in on it, and, you know, we're going to leave it closed for a while.
Folks in his hometown of Park Ridge, New Jersey remarked that while much of the internet was abuzz about the unexpected loss of a celebrity, they were supporting one another in the loss of a friend. Michelle Lazan went to school with James.
Well, he was definitely more of a popular person. He was very good looking, and all the girls had a crush on him. When they do the things at the end of the year, you know, most likely to succeed and everything else, he got class clown, he got best looking, and he got class flirt.
Friends tell me that James, known to them as Jimmy, never let anything get to his head. And he was a very modest fellow who liked to give back. In fact, would quietly return to his hometown of Park Ridge, New Jersey to give back to his community. A group, Friends of James Gandolfini, are petitioning the town council to name a street after the late actor.
Now, in addition to discussing the skill as an actor, we're also going to talk about his portrayal of a mobster and whether we've moved beyond this depiction of a hero criminal. We're back with Dee Dee Benke, Republican strategist, and we're back as well with Jerome Bongiorno, who is a filmmaker. And we're joined now by Paul DiGaetano, who is a former state assemblyman and an executive board member of the Italian-American One Voice Coalition. Let's start off with the mobster depiction here. Was it a good one, do you think? Did it do anything good to Italian-Americans and so on?
I can't think of any mobster depictions as Italian-Americans that is good for Italian-Americans. Jim Gandolfini, I think, was as much a victim of Hollywood's tendency to use Italian-Americans in a negative light, negative stereotyping. His death is a tragic loss as an actor, as a father of young children. But what really is most tragic is we didn't get to see what Jim Gandolfini would do post Tony Soprano, because if you look at his life and you look at what his makeup was, I think we would have seen more positive Italian-American depiction if he had anything to do with it.
Well, he was 51 years old, and that is relatively young, obviously. He was placed into this role, Jerome, and he did it very well. I heard somebody say earlier this week that maybe he portrayed this mobster too well, because that's how believable he was. As an actor, where would you rate him?
You know, up there. I mean, I like guys like Harrison Ford, Humphrey Bogart, that kind of thing, where they have a sensitivity to their acting, where they're, you know, not just reading the words, but they're internalizing it, and when it comes out, they really look like they're reacting to the situation. That is so important when you go and cast a person, and when you see Gandolfini's acting, that's what you get out of it.
His facial expressions often said everything.
Yes,
you really didn't have to
right.
hear the line to know what he was thinking about, because his eyes said it, or his mouth said it, or something like that. Just the facial expressions. A lot of people, especially the gentleman who played Uncle Junior, said earlier this week that his face really told the tale, and that's really the sign of a good actor. Were you a fan?
Oh, big fan. I love Tony Soprano. I thought it was such an interesting, well, he's such a good actor. You enjoyed it. Obviously, I mean, nobody thinks that the mob did good things, but it was also the human side, and it made it interesting because it talked about the family and the conflicts, and it wasn't like he was like, you know, he did terrible things, but you could tell that he had a heart too, so that's what made it so fascinating. And by the way, you look sort of like Tony Soprano. Have you ever been told that?
I don't know if that's a compliment.
He does, though. When he walked in, I'm like, oh my goodness, you must be on the Tony Soprano
It's the hairline, I think.
Well, you know, this is a very good point. I think as an Italian-American, I might say that this really cemented for a new generation this stereotype as a mobster, Italian-American mobster. And because of that, I didn't so much like the theme. I didn't like the plots often. The acting was a different thing, and we were all saddened by the loss of this great Italian-American actor. But I didn't think it did the Italian-Americans any good seeing this again, and a younger generation seeing this as mobsters.
I think Jim Gandolfini, if he was sitting here, would agree with you. As a matter of fact, if you look at his biography online, he actually expressed concern over the violent content of the show and the negative stereotyping of Italian Americans, which is why I think it's tragic that we didn't get to see more of what he could do. But what happens is, and I used Governor Christie's comments as U.S. Attorney. I heard him say publicly many times that when he went around the world and the country and met with other U.S. attorneys, they knew two things about New Jersey: crooked politicians and Sopranos. And as you know, what you see on television becomes real for people. So now they saw real places, real restaurants, real stores, etc., mob controlled under the script. Then people think that really is mob controlled. So everybody in New Jersey who's Italian American becomes mobster.
Now, Jerome, do you think that the average audience understands that, here's an actor playing a part, he's not really a mobster, he never really was a mobster, but, can they differentiate between the character and the actor as a filmmaker?
No. No. You go and you play a character, and you become that as far as people are concerned. And unfortunately, when you're portraying negative stereotypes, they begin to buy into those negative stereotypes. And as Italian Americans, you start to believe in that negative stereotype yourself, if you're not smart enough not to believe it. And that's the really dangerous part of it.
Now, you said you loved the show.
I did love the show.
But were you comfortable in the portrayal, putting aside the Italian American aspect, that you had this guy who was a hero criminal who made money through prostitution and drugs and so on and so forth, being portrayed to maybe a younger generation that this was a pretty cool lifestyle if you can do it?
Well, it's not new, though. I mean, the Godfather movies were amazing. We've had a lot of these types of movies and shows, and then, of course, the real live mafia action. So this is just sort of a continuation of the fascination. It doesn't mean people approve of it, but they are fascinated with it. And I think for New Jersey, I don't think this is a bad thing. I think it was a good thing because it showed a lot of New Jersey. It showed a lot of the sides.
I know you have something to say about that.
I know, I'm sure. But even, I mean, Governor Christie, he lowered the flag, and the reason for that is because this was a New Jersey guy who came from nothing. And his dad was a janitor in the school, and look what he did. He became a wonderful actor. Sure, he portrayed a mobster, and he did a great job with it, but I don't think that reflects badly on Jersey
whatever
or
state you live
Italian
in, do you want that sort of association? In this particular case, it's New Jersey. Would you want that association that
I think
Paul,
people think it's fun. I think you get tourists because of it.
I think we've seen, Didi, just the opposite is true, especially around the world. Many people have never been to New Jersey. What do they see? They see what's on television. If you see it on television, it's real.
But it gets them there.
That was the theme of Wag the Dog, right?
It gets them there, though, so you get more tourists. You get people there to enjoy Jersey.
But no, here's what happens. Satin Dolls is a place on Route 17 that has always been referred to by people I know as a mob joint. Now, I don't know if people own it.
Is it Bada Bing?
Yes, Bada Bing.
It's Bada Bing.
They don't even call it Satin Dolls, they call it Bada Bing.
Bing.
And it's unfortunate. Satriale's pork store. Any real location. The house that they filmed for Tony and Carmela. People come from out of the country and ask me to take them to see the Soprano house, the mobster house. I don't know who owns it, but I'm sure they're not.
But then you can show them historical society. My point is it gets people there, and it makes them interested in New Jersey.
But they get an impression that Italian American, New Jersey, construction, mob. Has to be mob. It's a negative stereotype.
And then you get them there and you can show the positive stereotypes.
Jerome, your thoughts? Is it worth it in the long run?
No, it's not worth it. It's never worth it to portray any segment of society that's violent and being, really. Geez, I was gonna use a bad word. Not a good idea. No, it's never good to do that. You should never show people in that light. I mean, there's so much more to show about Italian Americans. I mean, I don't come from that context. I mean, I came from a context where all my friends, we were all going into the sciences. Where's all that stuff?
People love Italian
What about the arts? No, people don't. People love Italian Americans, but people don't love Italian Americans as violent criminals.
Nobody thinks Italian Americans are all violent criminals.
Sure they do.
No,
Sure they do.
Okay, you all can't speak to this. I can.
Are you making believe, or you're really thinking that?
Are you going to call me a liar?
Maybe.
Trust me when I tell you. I always tell the truth, and I say it the way it is, and that was a rude thing to say. I love Italian Americans. I think it's great. I have no negative connotation about it. And I'm from Indiana. I'm from small town Indiana.
What about your friends? Would they share the same view?
No, I think they think they're fascinated by, people that are
fascinated by violence?
No. Why are you being so negative about it? Don't think everything thinks that you're
negative. It's
not.
violence.
Didi, I would disagree with you in this sense.
But you don't know because you're not from outside of here.
I went to school in Indiana. My two sons graduated the same school in Indiana, great university.
But I'm from there, and I grew up
all
there.
All of us were asked the same thing. You're from New Jersey, you're Italian American, you're in construction, are you in the mob?
Well,
every single one of us.
I mean, I think,
every single one of us was asked the question. When people who don't know New Jersey haven't experienced the positive side of Italian Americanism, they think differently. And I would say this. Place any other ethnicity in the same setting, would it be acceptable? The answer is no.
I don't think it would.
Well, I don't think this actor
Never.
did Italian Americans a disservice. He was a wonderful actor and a great New Jerseyan, and I think he should be applauded.
You all make wonderful points. We just have a couple of minutes. I would like to ask you, what do you think his legacy will be in Hollywood, in the world of actors and actresses? What will his legacy be?
Unfortunately, he will always be known as Tony Soprano, not Colonel Winter in Last Castle, not as Lieutenant Bob Doherty on Crimson Tide. He'll always be known as Tony Soprano, and that's a shame for him, because I really believe, from what I've read about him, that he thought much the same as I did, and he would have done a lot of good work for Italian Americans post Tony Soprano. We didn't get to see
using his popularity and his celebrity to sort of leverage other parts that put Italian Americans in a better light. What will his legacy be, Jerome?
For me, it's his acting style. You know, people can use that as a reference. You know, oh, that Gandolfini style, you know, that big hulking but sensitive kind of guy, serious but likable. You know, that's good for me to draw upon, you know, if we're casting for something and we're trying to look into the character a little bit, and we can give that actor something to chew on.
What distance is an actor like that from other actors who are just okay? When do you know that this guy's really got some talent?
When he's saying the lines and he's using the lines and it sounds like he's really reacting to the situation. I mean, it's fake, it's fiction.
He knows the script.
He knows the script, he's internalized it, and he's putting in stuff that's in between the words, stuff that was not written in the script. That's what you want an actor to do. You want them to take your words and make it real, so that people not only believe it, but see even more that you wrote into it.
So it's the reaction. A good actor can react even though he knows not only his lines, but the lines coming at him, and maybe for the next couple of minutes the lines. He's still acting as if it's just happening.
And you believe it. And a person that's watching is saying, wow, he's really going through that. That's magic.
We have 15 seconds. His legacy, Didi.
I think he's going to be known as one of the best television actors we've ever had. I think it's a tribute to Italian Americans and to New Jersey.
All right, Didi Binky, sorry. Thank you so much for coming today. And Jerome Bongiorno, filmmaker, we appreciate it. Paul DiGaetano, former assemblyman in the state of New Jersey and also an executive board member of the Italian American One Voice Coalition. Very lively conversation as well on this particular actor. Sad to see him go at the age of 51. Thank you so much for joining us on Fresh Outlook. We'll see you next time. I'm Frank Cipolla.